In fact, every woman on our planet, if she has a menstruation cycle, will experience menopause. But it's so undiagnosed and misdiagnosed that it's shocking. But change comes from awareness. And I'm pleased to have this conversation with you today. Good morning. My name is Fazana Al-Hussein. I'm the co-founder of Mindset Architecture. And I want to welcome you to this conversation we're having today on demystifying menopause, whether it's for yourself or someone you're supporting. So if you're going to talk about menopause, it only makes sense to define it, right? So menopause is technically one day in a woman's life. One day after 12 months of consecutively not having a period, your bleeding cycle. That one day you're in menopause. People often talk about it as like going through menopause. It's really one singular moment. And all the roller coaster symptoms that precedes it is called perimenopause. And the period after that one day is postmenopause. And that one day comes in average around the world when you're 51, 52. But it can be as early as 45. I'm talking about natural menopause, not one that's caused by surgery or medication, but natural. It can be as early as 45. And those roller coaster symptoms that comes prior to that one day, perimenopause, can start 10 years before that one day. So someone in their 30s can be experiencing menopausal symptoms. As for postmenopause, well, you are in postmenopause till the day you leave us. But the symptoms on average are between 7 to 8 years. But it's very individual. Some people are lucky, it might be a couple of years. Other people, it might last till she leaves us as well. But it's a very individual kind of journey. And when we talk about menopause, we're talking about the decline of 3 sex hormones typically. We're talking about estrogen, which is in every single part of your body. You have estrogen receptors everywhere, and that's the main player. Then we're talking about progesterone. It's our supporting act, and often progesterone is the first hormone that starts declining. It causes the night sweats and the hot flashes. And then we have progesterone. Now, fun fact about progesterone, in the years that you're fertile, a woman actually makes more progesterone in her ovaries than she does estrogen. So progesterone is actually a female hormone too. It's not just for men. And to date, the reason I say so shockingly misdiagnosed and undiagnosed, because to date there are over 100 symptoms of menopause that's been recorded. And it's the interplay of the decline of these hormones are not gradual, it's sort of like a roller coaster. And it's the interplay between estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and we have a few other hormones like your thyroid hormone, we've got insulin, we've got cortisol, your stress hormone. So I'm going to give out to you a little list, the 93 symptoms here, and you want to quickly have a look through them. Now don't get overwhelmed by this list because you might not experience all of it, but it's good to know how random these symptoms can be. And often we don't connect them to menopause. Some of them are quite unusual, aren't they? And the other reason it's so misdiagnosed and undiagnosed is because a blood test doesn't often pick it up. Because sod's law, you go and you get your blood, on that day all your hormones are perfectly lined up. So, and the next day it drops. So when you see your GP and they're reading your blood test, they're like, well, everything's fine. This is all in your head. Let's give you an antidepressant instead. And if you experience that, it's all in your head. Yeah. Because your hormones are all lined up that day, but it's dipped the next day. And the other issue that is that these symptoms that I've just passed out to you, you might get it one day, and then you might not get it again for 3 weeks, and you might get another one the next day. So you're like, oh, I just felt a little bit bad that day. What can you do about it? The first thing I say to women when they come to me, or somebody, if they come to me to support somebody they care about, is track your symptoms. No matter how minuscule they might seem, because you have been living with your body for 30, 40 plus years. You know what isn't right with you. So, and everybody, if you don't like journals, everybody has a phone. Everybody has a calendar on their phone. Just write, oh, felt really itchy today. Yeah. And then next one could be, oh, I've got a funny metallic taste in my mouth today. And it's lasting for 3 days. Oh, good. Felt really agitated today. So what happens is that if you then do decide to speak to your doctor, and no shade to doctors out there, they have really 7-8 minutes with you, and in that time they need to listen to you, extrapolate the information you give them, and then come back with a response. So the better the information you give them, the better their response is going to be. So journal, record, track. So let's now move on to, say you kind of understood that you are in perimenopause, or you might be in postmenopause. What are your options out there? Let's start with the most polarizing one. It might not be your first option, but it's the most polarizing one. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? What is the most polarizing option out there?
HRT.
Exactly, HRT. You have two major camps. One camp is, it's not natural. My mother, my grandmother went through it. They were fine. It causes cancer, right? These are the kind of arguments that come from the non-HRT camp, and valid reasons, and we'll look into that in a second. Then you have the other camp, which is like, oh my God, I've got the lease of life back. I feel sane again. I feel vital again. I'm going to take this till I die. And then we have a bunch in the middle. We're not sure which way to go. So let's talk about the concerns of camp one. HRT causes cancer. Well, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, has been used to treat menopausal symptoms since the 60s. It came to the UK in the 1990s, and it was the main therapy for women going through menopause. Then in the early 2000s, one of the biggest studies to date on women's health came out with the most sensational headline: HRT causes cancer. It increases the risk of cancer by 26%. Now that is scary, it is shocking. HRT was pulled from the shelves. Doctors stopped prescribing it. No ethical doctor would put their patient at risk of cancer, naturally. But there were some flaws in the reporting, in the study, and there's some learnings as well. So the first one, over 160,000 women were studied in this. It was done by Women's Health Institute, over 160,000. You had half of them in the placebo group, so they were just given a sugar pill, and you had the other half who were given HRT. And what they found was that for every 10,000 women in the placebo group, 30 of them had increased risk of cancer. And they found that for the HRT group, for every 10,000 women, you had 38 cases of increased cancer. So you had 8 more. So yes, it increases cancer by 26%. The numbers can be massaged to look even more sensational than they were. Now, one woman more is still one woman too many. But what it failed to highlight was some of the protective nature of HRT. Like, it helps reduce the chances of osteoporosis and osteopenia, where your bones get brittle, chalky, and weak. It reduces the chances of sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass. We start losing muscle mass from the age of 30, and by the time we hit our menopause, it drops radically, making mobility challenging. It reduces the chances of heart disease. It reduces the chances of Alzheimer's and dementia. And it reduces the chances of certain cancers like colon cancer. It fails to highlight those, but yes, it does increase the chances of breast cancer. So the learnings, what are the learnings that we've come from? Well, first, majority of the women who were studied were in their 60s. Now we know HRT, we know that menopause hits us around in our early 50s. So some of these negative impacts of low hormones have already taken place. The type of hormones that were given to these women were for estrogen, it was a synthetic form made from horse urine, and it was an oral estrogen, which means that the liver gets involved, which increases the risk of blood clots. Nowadays, if you give an estrogen, it's in the form of creams, gels, patches, which pass through your skin barrier, so it eliminates the risk of blood clots for women without any other underlying health issues. For the women who were, and most of these women were not given progesterone. And we know now that a woman if you still have your uterus, you should be given progesterone to reduce the risk of ovarian cancer. The kind of progesterone that were given to some of the women were a synthetic form called progesterone. Nowadays, the kind of progesterone that are given are bio-identical progesterone hormones. So there have been learnings, but that report put women's health back by decades. And we had decades of women suffering if they had decided to take HRT. Now, I'm not for or against HRT, but I want to make you aware of your options that you have. I do have another form I'll give out in a second about contraindications, who cannot have it and who shouldn't have it, and who might not have it. But say you decide to take HRT. And by the way, the Menopause Society have decided to rename HRT as menopause symptom therapy, because the level of hormones you'll be given are not going to be the hormones you had when you're 25. It's going to be the level of hormones you will be at this stage of your life. So it's a menopause symptom therapy. And if any of you had taken birth control pills, you know there's not one size fits all. You have to try the trial and error with dosage. You probably be starting off with a very low dose just to see if it impacts your symptoms. But you need to have a constant conversation with your doctor to adjust, to see where you are, to see if it's working. Some women, because you have the options of the patches, the gels, and the cream and the creams. Some women don't do well with patches. Some people are allergic to patches. Some people have to take gels. Some people will have to take the vaginal estrogen. As an aside, the vaginal estrogen doesn't help with all the symptoms, but a lot of the vaginal issues that we have, which is in your list, will help with that. Some women don't do well with progesterone. They're allergic to progesterone. But there are vaginal progesterones you can take that is causes less issues instead of allergies and things. So it's a constant conversation with your doctor. Now, I haven't mentioned testosterone yet. Often when you go to your GP, they will give you estrogen and progesterone. Testosterone is a fight. In the UK, they still haven't licensed testosterone for women. If your GP, if your consultant feels that they want to give you testosterone, they will give you a male dose, but a much lower male dose. In Australia, they've licensed it, so women are licensed to have testosterone, but there's a lot of symptoms of low testosterone that doesn't help with the estrogen and progesterone supplementation. So again, it's all very symptom-led. Your blood test is not going to show you where you are. It's very, very symptom-led. So it's very important that you are aware of what's happening to your body and record your symptoms. Have conversations with your doctor and leave them. And if your doctor doesn't know what to do, not all of GPs do, you need to find another one. You need to find a specialist. And often in practices, there might be one or two who specialize in HRT. Find them. But there are private consultants out here. Louise Newson is a great private women's health menopause clinic that she runs called the Newson Health. She has a lot of stuff online, social media. If you're on social media, she has a lot of information. So there are help out there, but you need to seek it out. This is for you, you know. So if HRT is not for you, it's not for everybody, you have other options. So here we have another leaflet I want to give out to you. The first page shows you who should not, advisable not to take HRT. So the first page we have people who are advised not to take it. You might not want to take it. You might not be able to take it. So there are pharmaceutical routes to some of the symptoms. In the next page onwards, there are some pharmaceutical options you can take, but there are some contraindications for it as well. Not everybody wants to go down that route either. Then you have the options of supplements, like botanical supplements, like red clover, black cohosh. Again, it helps with certain symptoms. But the world of the botanical supplements are like the wild, wild west. There is hardly any regulations on them. Unlike medication, which is heavily regulated, with supplements, as long as they put a little star asterisk next to a symptom, they can claim anything. And there is no one checking to see that what is on the box is actually in the tablets you're taking. So you have to be mindful of your supplement source or your botanical source. But there is a lot of options out there. Now there isn't many robust peer-reviewed studies on these botanicals, but there has been individual people who mentioned about how they have been, relieved some of their night sweats, their hot flashes, anxiety. Like ashwagandha is a great one for anxiety, but not everybody should take ashwagandha. So there's some, I've put the caution list is there as well. And your next option, this is the bit I'm saving, because this is the bit that I love. It's lifestyle. Things that you can do today. Things that's in your power to do today. whether you take HRT or not, whether you take the supplements or botanical supplements or not. These are things that you can do today. First, movement. And we all know some of these are commonsensical advice I'm going to give you, but it's being intentional with them. So whether you're a cardio bunny, great, it's good for your heart. Whether you love yoga, great for relieving mental stress, your joints, fantastic. Walking is an exercise, it's a weight-bearing exercise, which strengthens your bones. But lifting heavy stuff, foul art strips, all of these things. You can do all of those things, but lift heavy things. Studies have come back over and over again. Strength training, resistance training, lifting heavy shit, I'm sorry my language, is what's going to make your body adapt. Yes.
If anybody needs help with that, on Tuesdays we have deliveries. Come and work with us on Tuesdays.
Honestly,
lots of boxes to lift.
You joke, but honestly, if going to the gym scares you, you can do stuff at home. Get a rucksack, a book bag, fill it with books, whatever. Put it on your back. Do some lunges, do some squats. Come and help Jolie carry stuff. Honestly, carry stuff in your hands. 10-kilo rice bags. You get them, 2 hands. You can do farmer's walks. There are lots of things you can do at home, but what happens is that all of these exercise causes a stress in your body, but it's a good kind of stress. But when you lift heavy, your body thinks, damn, I nearly died. I need to do something about it. And it adapts. It builds muscles, it strengthens your bones. Lift heavy stuff. And I can't stress how important muscle is for our later life. It's not just for vanity, you want to look good. You want to be getting off that chair. You want to go get off that toilet seat without somebody helping you up. You want to get up the stairs. Muscle helps with that mobility. Strong bones. One of the biggest fatal accidents that women have is falling over and breaking a bone and causing life-changing effects. Lift heavy stuff. Yes, do the walking. Yes, do the cardio. Yes, do the yoga, Pilates. They're all great. The next, your nutrition. Now I'm going to bore you because I'm sure everybody's heard this. Protein, protein, protein. Honestly, protein is, our body needs it the most. And it's a funny thing how whoever created us played this funny rule, played this funny game with us. Our body has ample storage of fat, moderate storage for carbohydrates in our liver, in our muscles, but no storage for protein. But we need protein for every single reaction that happens in our body. So we need to get our protein in daily. You need to bank it up. Now, if you protein, you're not sure, I often have women saying, I can't hit my protein. I don't know how much protein I have. I don't know how to hit it. There's a national guideline for protein. If you go online, you Google it, it's like 0.75 grams for every kilo. That's for you to just stay alive. We're not talking about just stay alive, I'm talking about being vital. So the guidelines is between 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight, and if you feel like you need to lose weight, then it's 1.6 grams per kilo of ideal body weight. And if you're an active woman, 2 grams per kilo of body weight. So as an example, a 60-kilo woman will need 120 grams of protein. And you try to visualize, what does 120 grams of protein even look like? Give you an idea. An egg is 5 grams of protein. A chicken breast, 30 grams of protein. A can of tuna, 20 grams of protein. 100 grams of yogurt, 10 grams of protein. So protein, and you can mix them. You can mix your protein. So prioritize your meal with your protein, add your carbs, and dress it with your fats. Protein. Now there is a really good source and I will, you can ask me later on for more details, but an app, which is a free app called Chronometer. You can download it for free. You can do it on your phone, or your iPhone, and Chronometer, if you type in chicken breast, it'll come up with a whole bunch of options, and you can get an idea. I'm not telling you to become anal about tracking, but you become aware. So when you make your food choices, you can go, oh yeah, I can add a chicken breast, I can add three eggs, and maybe a side of beans. Well, that will give me 40 grams of protein in my meal. And if you have to hit 120 grams, 3 meals like that, you meet your daily goal. Now I can go down a whole rabbit hole of different types of proteins, but I won't do that today, unless you want to ask me about it, incomplete protein, complete protein, and all kinds of stuff. But let's stop it there. But if you want to talk to me about protein, I'm happy to talk to you guys about it. Yes?
Just to add a note, recently it was discovered in the UK, most people, most adults are deficient in vitamin D, fiber, and protein. So these are the 3 biggest deficiencies in the UK.
Yeah.
So this is very important that you highlighted that.
And in front of you added, my next point was fiber. The next
By the way, high protein, high fiber stuff over there. Just saying, go for it first.
And again, as our estrogen is in our digestive gut as well, as estrogen depletes, our digestion also gets slower and sluggish and stuff. So hitting your fiber goals. Now, where do you get fiber? Again, go onto that app, it'll give you some advice, but leafy greens, fruits, vegetables, beans, all of these have fiber. So I always advise when someone comes to me and they're struggling to hit their fiber, I tell them to meet it with their meals first. Because in a meal, if you are having, say, a fruit, it doesn't just have fiber, it has all the vitamins as well that your body needs. So try to meet your goal with fruits, vegetables, your meal. And then supplement if you need to. Supplement is always the last thing we get to. Because that's what supplements are. They're supplementing. That's not what you start with. You start with your meal and you supplement if you need to. And then obviously we go down to the next thing that you do here, sugar. It's good to, natural sugars, I mean if you're not diabetic, if you don't have an insulin issue, sugars, like natural sugar, the sugars that come from rice, pasta and things like that, they're not going to kill you, but it's good to limit them. So, and processed foods and sugars. Hydrate. That's another important thing that our body needs to, because often when you're hungry, you're actually not hungry, you're thirsty. So hydrate first. Again, I can go down a whole rabbit hole on nutrition, but I don't want to make this talk too long. The third and fourth, I like to de-stress. Now that's easy to say, hard to do. But again, this is where intentionality comes in. Do these things. So I have a few options for stress, relief there, and sleep. Now I'm sure if you're going through this roller coaster of symptoms now, when I mentioned sleep, you're going to roll your eyes. Like, come on, I'm waking up 10 times a night. I'm not getting any sleep. There are some advice there on sleep as well, but your sleep hygiene becomes really important. Having a cooler room, reducing your nighttime sort of interaction with devices, maybe not having a device near you at all, having a dark room. All of these things impact your sleep. Not having coffee too late in the evening, not having a heavy meal too late in the evening, because while your body is taking time digesting food, you're not sleeping. So have a meal earlier on in the day. In terms of food as well, there's a lot of talk about fasting. We can talk about that in another conversation if you want to talk about fasting. For women, general advice, fasting isn't the best thing for us to do. We can do intermittent fasting, but we cannot, again, this is a longer conversation about fasting. So, and then there are alternative therapies you can try as well. Acupuncture is one thing. Hypnotherapy is another one. if you can't take any of these things but you're still getting the symptoms, what does hypnotherapy do? It'll help you to perceive your stress in a different way, because all of these symptoms are causing stress on your body, and how you can reduce that stress. So you face it with a different mindset. So it's really powerful for women if they, are not able to take some of these options on board. Well, that's where I'm going to end today, because, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I've given you a lot of stuff to take away. The symptoms one is one that I would urge you to have a look through, because there are some that comes up and you go, really? That's a menopause linked one? Your handwriting changes?
That got my eye as well, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of, and I just want to say that for a lot of women, if they don't want to take HRT, they can still take progesterone for sleep issues, and they can still take the vaginal estrogen as well, because it doesn't absorb in the body as much. So even women who have got breast cancer, so you can take vaginal estrogen. But yeah, so I'm gonna stop it there. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
How do you know if they are menopause symptoms or perimenopause symptoms versus just symptoms? So I'm type 1 diabetic.
Yeah.
A year ago, I was really struggling with certain health things, and I was convinced it was menopause. And then they did a test in my GP, and they said, no, it's not that. Maybe you're just stressed. And then it just went away after a few months. So how do you know without having to go to the GP and have blood taken and all that?
Well, you need to first of all record your symptoms, so you become aware of them, and then have that conversation with your GP, because you might not know. Like your blood test came back to say that is your diabetes.
It was my diabetes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and stress and diabetes, not a great thing.
So when you said it went away, how did it go away?
On its own, I guess the stress levels went lower.
And how did you manage it? How did you manage to things are,
It was more Adrian managing it. I was a little stressed cucumber at the time.
But the thing is, a lot of the perimenopausal symptoms are coming and going, because your hormones are not declining like this, they're declining like this, right? So you might have realized that you're in a peak there, and your hormones are still declining. I mean, if you're at, I don't know what age you are, 40, it's starting to happen.
39 at the time.
No, it's starting to happen. Little things start to happen, and it won't be as evident.
I see. So even the tests wouldn't show if they're evident or not?
No, because you could have gone to see a doctor on the day that your hormones are all lined up. So it's, you're not in menopause, you're not perimenopausal, but
So even
2
the
days,
blood tests are not accurate?
No, the blood tests are not. They don't show, because, listen, this is doing this. So you could have tested when your hormones are there, and the next day is there. So this is what happens. You go to your GP, and they do a blood test, and then they say, well, your signs are all normal. It's all in your head. It's your diabetes. It's this. Because it's
They blame everything on the diabetes.
And women are given the antidepressant. Maybe you missed this bit, but lots of women are given antidepressants because it's all in their head. But the fact is, the next day when it drops again, they haven't seen that. And the other issue with the declining hormones is, I know you're type 1, but a lot of women, the insulin resistance increases.
Oh, type 1 can have insulin resistance too.
Yeah. So they
To the injected one.
So your insulin levels are also going up and down. It's the interaction. Because we're a finely tuned machine. So when something gets out of kilter, all the other hormones, which are not necessarily sex hormones, also gets impacted. So
I was just going to add to, I went through exactly the same thing. My blood test results didn't show up. My GP thought like, oh, just try some alternate medicine, it's in your head kind of thing. But after some time, like when my symptoms were coming back, I went again and I talked to her. And then luckily that time I got a good GP who kind of understood this. And then like even though my blood test results were not showing, she was listening to all my symptoms and she's like, okay, maybe you're in that age group and your symptoms are all matching. And I told her like, I was crying at work for no reason, and like it has happened a few times, and I'm like, okay, this is not normal, and like now I was able to share some of the things, and then I was prescribed HRT, and I always make sure that I always go to the same GP, so that way she kind of works with me too, because that is
How
also
do we know the good ones like that?
you have
Trial
to
and
go
error.
through
Like birth control pill, GPs are trial and error as well. But it's like, like you say, you had your symptoms listed. Now, a lot of us forget, oh yeah, today I felt weird, and you forget about it. And then a couple of weeks down the line, you feel a different kind of weird, and you forget about it.
But don't you think some doctors are actually over pushing the whole menopause thing? Because another time, 6 months ago, I was having a lot of breakouts on my face, and the first thing the doctor said, we need to test your menopause because maybe you're hitting menopause again. I was like, guys, are you gonna test me every 6 months? Okay, go for it. Why not?
But at least your doctor decided to test you.
No, but it turns out, yeah, they did. But it turns out I was using the facial cream that had yeast, and I'm highly allergic to yeast. So it was literally that. The day I stopped it, 2 days later, my face cleared out. So, that's why I'm asking. It seems like you just have to be aware of the symptoms, but there's no definitive answer.
There isn't. Because the symptoms are so varied. They're so random. They're so varied. But say you still had your acne or breakout symptoms, and you're given HRT and it's not working, well then it wasn't a hormone related thing.
I see.
And similarly, if you're given the antidepressants and it's a hormone related thing, the antidepressants are not going to help. It helps with certain symptoms, because obviously there are some depressive issues. But what? Oh yeah.
There are 9
She will email it to me. Don't worry. But thank you. I'll have a look and give it back to you.
I'm in a similar position where I feel like all the symptoms I blame on menopause, but sometimes you think, is it really the menopause, or is it my mind, or even the weight gain, you think, oh, it's menopause. Anything that happens, I think, is it menopause?
That would be a nice excuse.
But that's another thing. You're right about the weight gain, because it does happen because we start storing fat in a different way. Instead of having subcutaneous fat, which is the fat under our skin, it starts becoming more visceral fat around our organs and belly fat. And the way you attack that kind of fat is not just through calorie restriction. Strength training, your fiber, stress, all of these things will impact you. So, it might be a menopausal thing, it might be something else, but at least the conversations are happening. 10
Well, I
years
had
ago.
questions as well.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, like when you said to her, maybe when they measured, when they did the test, the hormones were all lined up. So is it really the case that that test only measures them at that point in
Yes,
time?
it's a singular
Considering-
It's a snapshot. But
It's a
it's not
snapshot.
Considering women's hormones fluctuate anyway in a 28-day cycle,
Exactly.
isn't that a little bit
Yeah,
backwards?
exactly. So it's really, the way to treat it is through symptoms.
Right, yeah.
Because it's a snapshot in your time.
Mm.
You might be lucky that you had a blood test when it was like this.
Yeah.
And also obviously knowing your cycle is important as well.
Yeah.
So you know where it is. But the hormone starts declining, and so but it declines in a very, very random and rapid way.
Mm.
Very unlike a normal period
Yeah.
thing.
Because, for example, for glucose, when they measure your glucose in the blood, there is a test that does it just in that moment.
Mm.
But then there is another test, is it
HE. Yeah, it's
that
3 month
measures
one.
it over 2-3 months. So there isn't any equivalent for
Not
that.
at the moment.
there, right?
Not at the moment. There is.
See, they needed glucose HbA1c for men and women, but they don't need the hormonal one for men.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a few decades before we.
That's it. Similar with cortisol.
Sorry, guys. It's just medicine
Yeah.
is really focused on men, not women.
Same with cortisol.
Yeah.
When you measure cortisol, cortisol goes up and down throughout the day. I mean, cortisol is also blamed for a lot of things, but you need cortisol to wake you up. That's what wakes you up in the morning. So, but again, cortisol goes up and down. So if you're trying to measure cortisol, you've got to measure it periodically to see the whole thing, but often it's one snapshot in one time.
Are you aware of any kind of advancements in technology that may help with any of that sort of symptom management at all in terms of female health?
In what kind of technology, like equipment-wise, or?
Like applications
That
and
would be
anything like
nice.
that, where you can log in your symptoms that the app
Yes,
then can
yes.
generate
Oh
some.
yes, there are
Yeah.
loads of. I haven't downloaded them here. I can, if you give me your email, I can send them through to you. Yes, it's a tracking thing.
Yeah.
So the reason I didn't mention an app is because a lot of people don't want to download another app. But yeah, I can
Sure.
send it to you.
It's
But
like when same way you log in your period in an app, and then that can generate like
Yes.
reports and advice and all of that.
yes.
If you're logging in the menopause reports, then maybe it can help
Yeah.
you know if it's actually looking like it may be perimenopause, for
Yes,
example.
yes, there are.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to. I mentioned putting it in your calendar app, but
Yeah.
so you can review it over time. But exactly, that one will assess it for you as well.
Yeah.
And then when you have that conversation, if you need to with your doctor, you're going there with more information, and you're more informed as well. You're not getting fogged up with something else. And the first instance of what they will, now the conversation about HRT is becoming more, the doctors are, having more of these conversations. But prior to that, because I was 47 when I had my menopause, I'm going to be 56 this year. In my time, I was, told, yeah, if it might be, try a bit of black cohash, there wasn't any support in this area. It's a lot of conversation. Davina McCall has done a great service to this, she talks a lot about it, and there's a lot of conversations coming out. It makes this, and not just for women, but for men as well, who are supporting their partners go through this. It makes them aware. But yeah,
What are the negatives of HRT?
there are some women who can't take it for health reasons. Then there are the allergies. Some women can be allergic to progesterone. Some women can be allergic to some of the estrogen. So again, it's a trial and error thing. But there are less negatives than positives. And often we think about symptom relief, right? So hot flashes, all these symptoms. But there's that protective side of it. Because your hormones are declining, there is a protective element to it that we don't often realize. The osteoporosis, the sarcopenia, the heart disease, the dementia. Now they're not going to stop it, but it might delay it and slow down the degradation of it, reduce the risk of it, but nothing is 100%. And the argument that some people said that my grandmother didn't have it and she was fine. Well, two things. Often your grandmother doesn't want to talk about her menopause symptoms. They probably didn't. And two, we are living well into our 80s and 90s now. If you're going to hit that one day when you're 51, that's 30, 40 years of this. And although the symptoms might last 10 to 15 years, as I said, some women still experience it to the day they leave us. Protective side of it is not discussed enough. But I do appreciate not everybody can take it. And there are things that you can do to help yourself.
Is there typically like a big difference between the symptoms that you have in perimenopause, and then what happens in your own postmenopause? Or do you see similar?
There are similar ones because the hormones are still going down, but the hot flashes and night sweats tend to decrease. But the cognitive side declines. So one of the advice I've given there is for creatine. Now creatine, some people think is a gym bro stuff, right? Gym, bodybuilders take creatine. Creatine is the most studied supplement out there, and they've found so much benefit for brain fog, for mental clarity. So taking creatine, and it's a very cheap supplement as well. You don't need to take the fancy expensive stuff. Creatine monohydrate is a very cheap supplement. You have to take it daily because your creatine stores will degrade over the day. So what happens is your body needs to build up a store of creatine before it becomes beneficial to you. So it takes about 2 to 3 weeks if you take 3 to 5 grams a day, depending on if you're a small woman, 3 grams, if you're a bigger man, 5 grams. Take it daily around the same time, build up your store of creatine, and about 2 to 3 weeks, and then the beneficial effect of creatine. So brain fog, mental clarity, recovery from just life. You know, your muscles get sore, muscle recovery. If you are in the gym, you're able to train harder, better. So it's not just a gym bro supplement, we can all benefit from it. So then sometimes people argue like, well, you can get creatine from food, you can have creatine. You can't have 30 kilos of chicken in a day. You need a hell of a lot of creatine in food, so it's easier to supplement. It's tasteless. I always take it first thing in the morning with my coffee. Doesn't taste of anything.
Question. From your calculations, I need 120 grams of protein.
If you're 160 kilos, yeah, roughly.
So
roughly.
you said an egg is right. Is it 120 over a week or over a day?
1 day.
So how many eggs can I eat?
Would
That
you
week?
eat?
I mean,
Well,
what else?
Well, you can have yogurt, you can have cheese, you can have, I mean, you're vegetarian, so you can have lentils and beans. Now we're going to go down the route of incomplete and complete proteins, but lentils and beans, people classify as proteins, but actually they're carbohydrates, but they do have an element of protein in there. If we have time, we can talk about incomplete and complete proteins. But
If you're planning to have lunch here, the petite protein pocket, it's a sandwich with pea protein and very low carb. It has 17 grams of protein per sandwich. So everything here is charged with protein, and from almond flour, from things like that, cacao, pea protein, soya.
yeah, soya, if you can take soya, if you don't have a thyroid issue, soya. Some people react to soya, but edamame has protein. Lupin beans, if you can have lupin beans, is a complete protein. So when I say complete protein, it's basically, proteins are made out of 20 amino acids, and out of them 9 is called essential. Essential meaning that we have to get it from outside, our body can't make it from other things. Things like meat, chicken, eggs, milk, soya, edamame are complete proteins. They have all 9 essential amino acids. Things like beans, legumes, lentils, they're called incomplete because they're missing 1 or 2 of those essentials. So you need to be a bit more mindful about combining it. So rice has an element of protein. So rice and lentil is a complete protein. Rice and beans is a complete protein. But the issue with the complete proteins is that our bodies absorb maybe 60%, 50 to 60% of it. So you have to have more. Nothing wrong with it, but you have to have more of it. Because if you think about it, if you're taking, say, 30 grams of lentils, of protein in lentils, you're actually absorbing 15 grams of it. So you need to have more, which might impact your calories if you're looking at the calorie budget. But I always, when I have vegan clients, I often lead them towards things like lupin. If you don't have a nut allergy, lupin bean is a complete protein. It's low carb if you're on a low carb journey. Easy to have. Edamame if you can have soya-based stuff. Tofu, tempeh. These are all complete proteins, which are vegan proteins, vegetarian proteins. Eggs, cheese, yogurt, complete proteins. So it's easy to mix. Then some people can have a big plate of, if you're not a vegetarian, a big plate of chicken, like, I don't know, 3 chicken breasts at a go. Some people can. Because some people's protein requirements are 200 grams of protein, right? You need to hit 200. They can have that in one go, but others might struggle. So you then mix it, and it's easier to mix your protein.
I think I read somewhere that your body can only absorb certain amount of protein at a time. So do you have any view on that? Like how much at a time can you have?
They have debunked that.
Have they?
With the 30 grams, they were saying 30 grams of protein at a sitting. They have debunked that, and that's more for sort of muscle building kind of thing. But as we get older, really going down rabbit holes here. As we get older, the leucine is the amino acid in protein that tells your muscle, go build. And as we get older, that signal for leucine, go build, gets quieter and quieter and quieter. So you need more. So a young woman who's in her 20s can get away with 25 grams of protein, and the leucine signal will be loud. someone like me who's 55, 56 will need 40 to 45 grams of protein to get the same signal to my muscle to go build. So you need a bigger amount of protein. So that maximum has been debunked.
So it sounds like I've already started my HRT. I'm 47 now. So it looks like till I die I have to be on HRT, or is there a point of time where like the symptoms reduces and I can?
It's a personal choice. It's also an element of how much if you're on the NHS, whether they'll fund you till you die. Some people will stay on it till the end because the implications of the benefit that you get from it, you will get it till the day you pass. There's a lot of research to show that the earlier you start, the more beneficial it is for women, the more beneficial effects of HRT.
So to start even before menopause?
Some doctors won't do it, but you can.
Okay.
That's the conversation, that's the struggle that we have. If you really believe that you are, because remember, menopause is one day in a woman's life. It's 12 months of not having a period. So some people have 6 months of not having a period and they get a period. They're not in menopause. It's one day. And the day after that one day, you're in postmenopause, the rest of your day. So perimenopause. So some doctors are willing to do it. Other doctors will tell you to try the botanical stuff first. Depends on your symptoms.
What's in the Granny Russia?
How do you know when to stop taking HRT in sort of controlling your symptoms?
How do you know
When to stop taking HRT?
you don't have to stop taking it? You can take it like question. You can stop whenever till you die if you want to. If you can, some women will decide to keep on it. Other women might think, well, let me see how I feel. Let me come off it and see how I feel. But that's one symptom.
Once you've already been taking it, if you take it out, isn't that going to make it even worse?
It will make it worse because what might happen is you're beyond your symptom phase. The symptoms can last for like 10 years, right? So if you take it out, say 5 years in, and your symptom lasts 10 years, you will then get the symptoms again. But if you take it out and your symptoms are finished, then you go, I don't need it again. So for symptom relief, you can try it. But what you will find in the NHS is that once you come off it, your doctor might not want to put you back on it. You're fine. They might not want to put you back on it. It's expensive to keep every single woman, if they want to, on HRT. It's expensive.
So
And-
it's available on the NHS?
Oh yes.
Is it?
Yes. It's available on the NHS.
As patches or creams or
Whatever's
what
required.
form?
Whatever's required for.
How do we know which one is better for us?
Trial and error. So some
Oh,
people will
God.
try the patches.
So we become the guinea pigs.
No, it's for yourself. It's a guinea pig for yourself. Some people will try the patches and it works perfectly. Other people, the patches come off, so they try the cream. So you have to try, especially you, right? So for NHS, it's on the NHS and you can get an NHS exemption for it as well. So you don't need to pay for your prescription. £20, I believe it is, and you don't need to pay for your prescription. So it's expensive for the NHS. If every woman who wants it gets it and has it and on it till they die.
I went through that, they started with patches, I had skin allergy and all that, and then they gave me the spray, which was really handy, but then my skin was reacting. Now I'm on the gel and the gel works better for me.
And how long do you keep it for? Like, do you spray it, keep it for 10 minutes and then wash your hand? Or you keep it in a part
if you
you
just
won't
spread
wash?
it, leave it for 5 minutes till it dries, and then just make sure that you wash your hands. So
And that gives the right amount of hormone?
Well, it's one pump, one spray.
Really?
they tell you how much, based on your thing, so that's why I was working with my GP. I started with 2 pumps and then 3, and now I'm on 4. So it's kind of depending on your symptoms and things, you can look it up. It's definitely she said, it's trial and error, but you will, if you find the right GP to work with it, really
I think
you
we
will
all
see the
need to
difference.
sign up to your GP.
I mean, Dr. Louise Newsom from Newsom Health, they are private, but they work very closely with you and they're very, very knowledgeable about HRT if you choose to take it.
Does
That's it.
HRT cause more hair growth, weight gain? Aren't those some symptoms?
Well, hair growth is generally with testosterone, but not necessarily, but testosterone. And also the imbalance that happens within you if you say you have a lot of the hair that grows in your chin, when women get hair in other parts of the body that they don't want to have hair on, that comes from testosterone imbalance in your body. The weight gain, you don't gain weight from taking HRT, it's water retention often. And it's the fact that the gain is happening mostly around the bellies, because after our body starts storing the fat that might have gone on your calves, for example, or whatever, is now being stored around the belly and your organs. That's where the heart disease issue comes in, because the higher level of visceral fat around your organs lead to higher risk of heart disease and metabolic disorders, diseases.
And these patches have testosterone, estrogen,
No.
and progesterone?
No, so the patches are generally either estrogen or estrogen and progesterone together.
And then we have another patch for the testosterone.
It's very hard to get testosterone in the UK, but if your consultant, it's often consultant-led, feels that you will benefit from testosterone, they will do it. That you can do a blood test for, and they can see where your testosterone level is. If they feel that you benefit from it, it's a gel. But the gel that you get, there's two types now in the UK. One is like a sachet that they give to men, and you take 1/8 of that sachet. It's bizarre. Kind of like thinking, okay, 1/8 of this little sachet, I don't know how to work it out. And there's a new one that's come out called Tested Gel, which is like a pump, testosterone. It's a pump. And you get 1 pump is what you need as a woman, but it's very hard to get. You have to fight. I'm on testosterone at the moment. I had to fight tooth and nails because my blood test came back to show that my testosterone was on the floor. There is a level of testosterone that women should have around, it's called, I forget the unit of measurement, but it's like around 2. Mine was in 0.5. So I had to fight to get my testosterone through my consultant with my GP, because testosterone is not licensed for women in the UK. So my GP was very, very nervous to give it to me. But because my consultant recommended it I had extreme lethargy, couldn't get out of bed, and in the afternoon falling asleep, issues that you'll find in your list. They did my blood testing. I'm now sitting at about 1.1, 1.2. It's still not at the optimal level, but it's better than 0.5. Negative impacts of testosterone therapy. For some women, not everybody, you might get a bit of thinning of the hair loss, testosterone. You might get a bit of hoarseness of voice. You might get a bit of your genitalia becoming engorged. These are extreme, not everybody gets it. But if you do testosterone, minimal doses of testosterone, then you don't see any impact. But you need to mention these things. But what you do get, you feel like the lethargy lifting. You feel your mood lifting. It impacts libido as well. Your libido might be on the floor. So, again, you won't be getting the levels that you had when you're 25. It'll be at the level of where you are at the moment, what state of life you're in. Any more questions? No? Brilliant. If you want to contact me, I think I'll send you the apps. Don't have it with me. I can send you also, if you want any other information, reach out to me and I'm happy to forward you stuff. I can even forward this document as a PDF to you if you want a PDF format. But it's good to review for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I also just say a huge thank you for Zana for this very insightful talk. Frazana will be doing more talks with us here at TLZ, so make sure you spread the word. Whenever we advertise them, follow us to know. And last but not least, a big thank you to the amazing male allies that attended this so curiously to try and support the women in their life. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, everybody has 10% off.